All right, big fanfare here now. This is a Fox News alert, and Fox News has confirmed that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will announce his candidacy for president tomorrow. Let's bring in Bret Baier, anchor and executive editor of Special Report. Bret, we hear that the announcement is going to take place 6 p.m. tomorrow night in a Twitter Space conversation that Ron DeSantis will have with Elon Musk. Wow. It doesn't get much bigger than that.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
That's right. John, Jillian, good afternoon. I think we obviously all saw this coming, and it was going to happen, forecast to be this week, and now we have the specifics of how it's going to happen. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Governor Ron DeSantis will officially become a candidate for the presidency in 2024. The interesting thing about it is, one, his choice of venue, using Twitter, an interview with Elon Musk, that springboard perhaps to touch the MAGA faithful. And also that he has made his rounds. He has been to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. He's been to other states already, and now the official campaign begins. So the question will be whether he closes the gap with the former president or whether this becomes a real brawl. We've already seen the former president, Donald Trump, spend more money on Ron DeSantis through his PAC and ads than they spent on supporting candidates in the midterms of 2022. That's a pretty staggering fact.
Bret, we've been talking about DeSantis' potential candidacy for months. Why do you think the team decided now or tomorrow is the moment?
Well, that's a great question. I thought there was some thought that we were going to wait until the end of the legislative session, which might have been all the way to June. There may have been a thought that he was losing ground and taking some shots. The Disney back and forth didn't necessarily benefit him entirely. There are some people who said he fought valiantly, but really Disney fought back. So I think there have been some missteps along the way as far as the planning and the strategy, and maybe they thought it's better now to get in than not.
Yeah, so when we talk about the timing for getting in, a lot of people thought that DeSantis waited too long already. As you pointed out, maybe he thought that he was losing ground. But I think it's worthwhile pointing out that Donald Trump got into the race in 2015 on June the 14th, his birthday. So that's still 3 weeks from where we are now. So, you know, if you use Trump as a measure, DeSantis still had some time. But when you take a look at the Real Clear Politics average of polls I've got up in front of me here, Trump is still in the average 37 points ahead of DeSantis. A lot can change as the campaign gets underway and support waxes and wanes. But that feels like, at this point, an insurmountable lead, Bret.
Yeah, and it definitely does at the beginning. And the former president will say it's over. You know, and his supporters will say it's done. We shouldn't even have this primary. But there is a primary, and Governor DeSantis is going to be, he has a lot of money. We just saw Senator Tim Scott get in the race with $20+ million plus some significant backers. Ron DeSantis has much more than that, and he will be a formidable candidate on the trail. The question is whether he takes off and where the trajectory goes. We understand the first interviews with Trey Gowdy on FNC at 8 p.m.
Bret, talk to us about why you think the campaign chose the venue, which you mentioned off the top. He's going to announce this thing tomorrow on Twitter Spaces. I haven't done a fact check, but I believe this is a first for a presidential candidate, a major party candidate. And also, this is not a segment about Elon, but what's in it for Elon?
Well, listen, he has been very deferential, let's say, to Governor DeSantis, and has at one point said that he would support DeSantis if he ran for president. I don't know how that evolved or where he is now, but clearly the fact that he is doing this interview suggests that he at least supports him in some way. The fact that Elon Musk has been this figure of free speech, of anti-woke, of letting people get there on the platform. For the MAGA crowd, for the base, that's significant, and it means a lot. And I think Ron DeSantis is trying to touch that. He knows he's under attack from the former president and will continue to be. as those ads continue to pile up.
Elon Musk is also trying to turn Twitter back into a $44 billion company. So the more attention that he can put on it, I think the more helpful it will be for Musk to get it back up there. We saw some pictures just a moment ago of Ron DeSantis and Casey DeSantis. And it seems to me that based on that Politico article of a few days ago, that she is going to factor prominently in this campaign as well. And she will be under a level of scrutiny that the presumed nominee's spouse on the other side, Dr. Jill Biden, likely won't be. Speak to that for just a little bit, because this piece that was done on her was widely seen as a very unfair, some people said misogynistic hit piece.
Yeah. It's interesting. She is someone who, if you talk to donors who have been in the room with the DeSantises, they say that she works the room and that she lights up the room, and that, she's a former TV personality, TV anchor. She has a big personality and she can identify with folks. She's really good, especially with wives of business leaders, or with business leaders who are women. She's done her own events that have identified and really touched a chord. She obviously had her battle with cancer as well. So she is a real asset to Governor DeSantis. And to any fault that he has in working a room or not asking questions to everybody there, she kind of makes up for that. I think just anecdotally, he's gotten better about how he works a room and how he asks questions in recent months. But she's a real asset, and you're right, that piece was a little over the top.
Bret, DeSantis' whole platform, for lack of a better word, because he wasn't a candidate until now, has been taking what he has done in Florida, the legislation, the policies he's implemented, and taking that national. Is there evidence, you think, that this is going to work for his candidacy?
That's a great question, Jillian. And I think what has been the focus of the coverage is the anti-woke stuff. Woke, Florida is a place where woke goes to die. That's his line from his acceptance speech. And a lot of the focus has been on the legislation that deals with that specifically. But there's other legislation as well that this governor has started and signed into law that they say totally lays out the conservative values that he's going to campaign on. So I think he's going to use that as a blueprint, as somebody who has done it in Florida, and some things that we haven't really talked about that much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.